A growth mindset is the mindset that is going to allow you to not only meet your goals, but see life in a whole different perspective. It is a good mindset shift. Where a fixed mindset is where so many people live, right? And that's what we're going to talk about today, the differences between fixed and growth mindset. Welcome to episode 111 of the Positivity Experience. Let's aim for growth mindset. Check it out. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Positivity Experience. It's your girl, Lori. This is episode 111. Wow, triple ones. That's a good number, baby. If you are new here, welcome. I am excited that you're here. Thank you so much for coming and visiting me and listening, and I appreciate you. And over on the Patreon today, you know that the Patreon always helps complement this, and we're talking about the 5 ways that you can shift your mindset. Right? How can you shift it that isn't just about positive thinking? It's about full-on actions, like that you wouldn't even consider, oh, wow, like actual actions that you can do. So, and that's going to come with a worksheet like they have been over the last few weeks. So welcome there. And if you are interested in becoming a Patreon, you can go to the show notes here, or you can visit patreon.com/the Positivity Experience. And that will give you that as an option. It's always a really good companion to this podcast as well. But let's talk about this mindset. Oh my God, we are talking a massive love language for myself, right? And we're going to talk about a fixed versus a growth mindset. And you're going to identify pretty quickly that so many people get into that fixed mindset, and especially when it becomes repetitive, right? When you're living in that sort of not just a negative thinking, the mindset is a massive piece of it. That's why it's called fixed and growth mindset. So that's what we're going to talk about. So I want to talk to you about, there's several characteristics, but let's identify 5 to 7 of them. Okay. And it's going to be easier for you to really understand it as we go through it. And I can give you some examples, right? So it's this all or nothing thinking is a big piece of your fixed mindset. You're either really good at something or you suck at it. I am great at it or I'm terrible at it. You're not allowing that middle ground, right? You feel like, you see this a lot with like younger people. My son was one of those people. He could make not even a strike. He would make 9 pins and the world was falling apart because he just did not get that strike. He felt like, by the way, it was like his first time bowling. And he thought, I should just be able to pick up because he's very athletic. So he thought, I can just get up and do this. Well, no, you can't just get up and do this. But just because you don't have that skill or that talent or the ability doesn't mean that you're not able to acquire it. So that's your first one, right? So we're going to do a either or, not an either or. We're going to do a fixed versus a growth. And then you can kind of see it from both perspectives. And I'll give you some examples, right? So that is one. So if you're like, well, you know what? I crochet. And I promise you, I can still mess up crochet now. I just undo it and, whatever it is and redo it because I know it comes with what I'm doing, especially if I'm learning something different. And I always want to challenge to learn something different, right? You don't want to just do the things that are easy. You think you do. In your mind, if you're doing the things that are easy for you, you feel as though, oh God, I'm good at this, right? But you're also not growing. There's zero growth in the comfort zone. I don't care how pretty you make it. I don't care how many flowers you put out there. I don't care how much you convince yourself that this is where you need to be and that's it. You're not growing. At no point does anyone grow in the comfort zone. No one. You can live there. It's a comfort zone. Doesn't always mean it's healthy for you. But if you're not willing, right? If you go, well, I'm not good at that. Well, okay, so? What do you mean you're not good at that? Of course not. What do you think? You're just going to pick up a tennis racket and you're suddenly Serena Williams? It's not going to work that way. So if you're getting in the fixed mindset that you got to either be good at it or you absolutely suck at it, and guess what? You might suck at it. Yep. That's the reality. You might suck at it. But guess what? Just because you don't have that skill doesn't mean you can't acquire it. Just because your best friend knows 4 different languages and you can barely mumble your way through English doesn't mean that you can't learn another language. But how are you going to see that? Are you going to have that fixed mindset of saying, I can't do it because I suck at it? Or, oh my God, I can only do this if I'm good at it? Or are you, and this also goes into emotional maturity, right? Are you in that headspace to understand that, you know what? It's no big deal. Like, I know that if I want to do something and learn something, it's going to be the level of effort that I'm putting in, because it isn't all about some God-given talent. It's about what effort are you going to put in, right? You might look and go, okay, this person's a super fast runner. They're just born that way. Okay, that's great. And you may never be as fast as them. That's right. You might not. But that doesn't mean with effort, you can't improve your time. Who are you challenging? Who are you competing against? You're obviously not going to compete against the fastest runner in the world. You're right. You're not ever going to do that. That's correct. But if you give yourself the time to work on and make an effort, you will improve on your time. That's the growth mindset. You're always, you know that you don't just need the skills, that you can acquire them. And even if you can't acquire them at 100%, you can still put the effort in. So a growth mindset says, I know that it comes down to my effort, right? You can't just, like I said, you're not just going to get up and just make it happen. It's going to take effort. And effort is exactly what it sounds. It can be hard. But a growth mindset goes, I'm here for the challenge, right? And, and I think that's it too, is thinking that somehow or another your time is up. Like your time is up. You go, oh, but I'm 60. I'm 65 years old and I don't know, I'm too old to learn Spanish. Why? It might take you a little bit longer. It might be a little harder for you to comprehend it, especially like, I have ADHD and things like that. So I know that things take me a little bit longer. I just lean into it. I'm not so much a book learner. I mean, I have learned that way multiple times, but I'm more of a audio and visual learner. But sometimes you just don't have that ability. So you have to kind of just limp my way through it. And sometimes that means if I have to spend an extra week and a half reading a book that you might be done in, I'm okay with it. Because my growth mindset doesn't go, poor me, I have ADHD, I don't understand what I'm reading. My brain goes, okay, well, I know that it's going to take me longer. So I've put my mindset in a growth mindset to go, I know that this is going to challenge me, but I'm here for it. Because in the long run, it's going to give me what it is that I'm seeking, but I have to put in that effort. So we go back to number one, right? And so when you're in that space and then you start going, it's too late for this, it's too late for that. It is not. I remember when my son was in the college here locally, there was a lady who was almost 60 and she was just going back for communications, right? She had grandkids and all that stuff. And I only know about that because he was like her partner for some things. And he said, Mom, she's just like, she's so driven. Like, she doesn't know where to begin. She's brand new. She doesn't know anything about the topic and she's really there and she's showing up for herself every day. Because you got to show up for yourself every day, right? It's the effort of that. So that's your growth mindset around that. No, it is. I mean, yeah, you're right. You know what? Are you going to be a class A gymnast at 75 years old and you haven't done gymnastics since second grade? Probably not. You're right. So you're right. Sometimes you also have to know a fixed mindset isn't, I can't do anything. A fixed mindset is, I can't do anything. A growth mindset is, well, I got to see what my skills are, but at age appropriate skills. This doesn't mean that you can't learn Spanish because you're a slower learner, but you probably can't do tumbles. That's right. You probably can't. Okay. So, but a growth mindset knows how to differentiate. A growth mindset doesn't go, I suck at everything. A growth mindset looks and goes, I can't do that. Like I can't go on the NFL right now. I can't. But I'm okay with it. If I really loved it, like I said in a previous podcast, if I really loved like I love the NFL, but football, but like if I was really dedicated, then I would work either as like a commentator or I would be a occupational therapist or I would do something. But that's your mindset. Stop pigeonholing yourself and saying, oh, I can't do this. I can only do these 3 things. What? That's your fixed mindset. Okay. And here's where failure is amazing. But if you have a fixed mindset, you will not do something because you are afraid to fail. You are afraid that if you leave this job, oh my God, is this the right decision? What if it doesn't work? What if I get this new job and it doesn't work? Oh my God, what if I fail? Then you fail. Good. If you're a growth mindset, it really adopts it and goes, good. Yes. If I fail, that means I'm learning something. What did I learn? Maybe, I tried really hard. It just didn't work. Oh, well, that's the part of what leads us in growing. Literally growth Does not happen. You can't just perfect everything. Number one, it's not real. Perfection's fake. It does not exist. But to say, what if I take this and oh my God, the risks and all that? Yes. And a growth mindset realizes that even if you do, you will have learned a lesson. But when you're in a fixed mindset, you won't do it and you'll be afraid to even attempt it because you're just married, almost crippled by this failure fear. And until you can embrace that, you're never going to go into that growth mindset. There isn't a part where you're like, I have a growth mindset, kind of. I mean, no, you either are or you don't. I mean, there are gray areas, right? It's not going to happen all at once overnight. So there will be a gray area until there isn't. And obviously, as you get there, the mindset becomes your new default. Because think of this, in this fixed mindset, in that belief system, in that fixed belief system, that's a default. That mindset is a default. You're not thinking about it. There's no effort there. It automatically happens. So what you're doing is you're changing, you're rewiring, you're restructuring that part of your brain or mind, I should say. Okay. Now, here's another one. Okay. If someone says to you, hey, you know what? You did a good job on this. But this was a little off. I need you to correct this. Okay. You go, okay, my bad. I'm sorry. That's a growth mindset. Oh yeah. Okay, cool. I got that criticism versus going, oh my God, I knew it. I suck. Oh my God, I can't do anything right. Oh my God, I feel so bad. What if I don't have my job anymore? Like, oh my God. Okay. Fixed mindset. Because the reality is, guess what? You're not going to do everything right. And if you're not willing to hear the feedback, it's not always a personal attack. Stop it. I know you know these people. These people may be you. Where you go, hey, I saw that you made pizza tonight for dinner. Next time, it was really good, by the way, but next time, can you add pineapple to mine? And you go, of course. You know me. I didn't get that pizza right because I can't get it right. I guess I can't do anything right. You're like, dude, I said it was fine. I just asked you the next time to please put pineapple on it. Everything is not a personal attack. If you're taking everything as personal attack and you don't know how to take that, that's how you know you're in a fixed mindset, right? But here's the beautiful thing. When you make a mistake and someone points it out, you don't go into a panic mode. You don't go into a defense mode. You go, ooh, damn, my bad. I absolutely will learn and I will do better. Like if somebody asks me a question, you don't need to know everything. If you don't know the answer, say, hey, you know what? I'm not sure the answer. I really don't know it. But if you give me a week or give me 3 days or give me till tomorrow, I will find out as best I can. And if I can, I'll let you know. Because you're able to know where your shortcomings are. You're not trying to be perfect. You're not trying to have all the answers. You're not trying to do that because a fixed mindset says to you, if you don't have all the answers, you're less than. This goes back into that all or nothing. Okay. Now, this, and that's the biggest piece of that fixed mentality is to say, you know what? I'm not smart enough. Well, guess what? Some people are going to be smarter than you. Yep. Okay. That doesn't mean, again, that you can't develop it more. No one ever said that. You can develop an ability and you can develop your intelligence. And guess what? It ain't going to be easy. It is not going to be easy. Okay. Now, that's why, and I say this to people all the time, and I just said this to a client recently, this week actually. And, here's the thing. If you don't understand something, don't pretend that you do, right? If let's say your boss says to you, hey, Rhonda, can I get you to do, I was looking at this spreadsheet and they just kind of show it to you. Can you please put all of our sales for 2022 in here and track that? Is that something you can do? And you go, yes, of course. Yeah, no problem. Or you don't even say that because it's not really an option. They give it to you and you go, oh my God, holy hell. I don't know where to start. I can't even Google it because it's like it's like a proprietary software. Like, oh my God, what do I do? Well, you go tell somebody you don't understand. Right? And I said this to somebody earlier this week because I would rather, let's say you and I were going to go into business together. And I asked you, hey, well, what do you think the profit margin will be in this? And I don't need you to give me some nonsense answer because you're making up something that's supposed to make yourself feel good because you think suddenly you have the answers. And now that never comes to fruition because you never knew the answer in the first place. So now what you think that you're doing, right? In a fixed mindset, you go, I have to know everything. I can't let somebody know that I don't understand it. But if you have that growth mindset, what you're doing is you go, oh, you know what? Hey, I would love to do this. This is probably a really good idea. I don't know where to begin. And is there a certain, is there something that I can look at if you give me X amount and maybe, you go, there's no way I know how to do this. But if you let me research it, I can give you a timeline. People don't want to think that you know everything. Okay. And I think that goes into the very next one, which is where you feel intimidated by people. I don't mean intimidated by people's actions, like directly to you. I'm saying like if they have success, right? You go, well, I don't understand. The hell, like there's no way I could be that good. Why are we comparing? That is a fixed mindset to say that, I'm intimidated by somebody's success. I'm intimidated by this person because let me tell you, when you go on this growth journey and you develop this you switch sides of this mentality in this mindset, when you do that, there will be people who feel intimidated by you. And it's two very different things to be intimidated versus feeling intimidated. Two very different things. And if someone feels intimidated by the fact that you have confidence into what you're doing, and you're still growing and you're doing all those things, and someone feels intimidated, that is not yours to process, nor is it yours to water down. Okay. So if you're threatened by the success of others, right? You feel like, oh my God, I can't do it enough. I'm never going to do that. Then that is not where you want to live. There is enough for everybody to go around. And when you have that, you realize, you can say, okay, I have a podcast. There's millions of podcasts, millions and millions of millions, a couple million. If I worried about all these other podcasts and all the success and the numbers of these podcasts, I wouldn't have done a podcast because it would be very intimidating, right? You'd be like, oh my God, I'm brand new to this. I'm coming into a arena where everybody has all of this skill. And guess what? I've had to develop my skill. I do it every day, not every day, but I do it every week. I have to develop it and I'm going to continue to develop it. And I'm going to continue to look at the success of others and pull inspiration and reach out and say, hey, do you have any advice on how I can, I don't know, blah, 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 whatever it is. That's the difference. You're not intimidated. When you're in that growth space, you pull the inspiration. And if you can ask someone or get in touch with that person who you feel intimidated by on how they did it, or, hey, do you have any advice for me? And you're able to take it without thinking somebody's criticizing you and thinking that you're less than or you're stupid. Well, now we're good. Okay. So, and that's why avoiding a challenge, if you go, I can't do it, it's too hard. I don't want to do it. It's ultimately it's a fear of failure, but it's also an effort, right? Let's be honest. Sometimes we don't do things because we don't want to. You just don't want to. It doesn't have to be anything extra. You just don't want to, because it's not important to you, right? If it's not important to you, you're not going to do it. Or if you're going to bellyache about it, which you don't want to do. Okay. And, I think that another thing for you too is allowing yourself to be in a growth mindset that develops into this level where you understand that you have to be the one to do the work. You have to be the one to do the work. This is where we don't blame. This is where we don't say, well, the world is what it is and super duper down that negative. Right? And so when you have this belief system that you're not, all the cards are stacked against you, all of this is stacked against you and how things never work. And guess what? You're going to see that. You are going to see that. Okay. So when you say, hey, you know what? I'm going to practice this and I'm going to practice this. You might see that with people who do not just sports, but let's say playing an instrument. When they first do it, it sounds like there's a bunch of like dead cats screaming somebody's killing cats and it sounds like they're terrible. And then 4 weeks later, 6 weeks later, you can at least listen to it without cringing because they're practicing it. Okay. And so you have to understand that when you're in that space, if you're not willing to do that, if you're not willing to face a challenge, you have to face the challenge, then you're not going to be in a growth mindset. A growth mindset says, this is going to suck. And now I'm talking about not so much like a sport. I'm saying you're healing. Yeah, it's going to suck. That's right. Feeling it, healing it, all that. Yeah. I don't know whoever said that was going to be fun. Nobody said that. But you're up for the challenge. You're going to face it so you can develop it. Okay. You're going to allow yourself to go, wow, you know what? This didn't work, but I really kind of like it. I feel kind of good. So I'm going to try a new method. I'm going to try a new direction. And that's it, is you're looking for something that isn't just so static. Okay. And it's like, yeah, that's great that you can have that fixed mindset. It's not all bad. Okay. But it does let you know, hey, I need to check myself. Like there's areas that I can believe in and all of that. But how do I want to grow? How do I want to grow? Well, for one thing, you accept your mistakes. Oops, I screwed that up. I shit the bed. Sorry. Yep, I did it. My bad. Or you learn from somebody else. Like a lot of times I'll tell you, the main reason I do what I do now is I learned what I don't want to do from the people before me. Like the people, like my dad and other people. Learn from those mistakes. Don't judge them. Learn from them. Right? Failure is nothing more than learning. All right. Now here's the other thing. When you're in a growth mindset, you don't need recognition. Nope. You don't need somebody to be like, attaboy, great job. You don't need that. You don't need it because you're growing for you. You're doing this as a favor for yourself. You're giving yourself exactly what you deserve by growing. So the efforts and the steps that you're taking and making, you don't need everybody to be your biggest cheerleader along the way. Because then you're not doing it for the right reason. And if you're not doing it for the right reason, now we're not even in a mindset. Now we have to go into why are you doing it in the first place? That has nothing more even to do with your mindset more than it has to do with, are you doing it because your parents want you to do it? Or are you doing it because you're afraid if you don't do it? Like, you know what I mean? There's a combination of things that go in, right? So what you don't want to do is do something for somebody, not for somebody else, but you don't want to live your life for somebody else. Okay. And understanding that things take time, that I need an instant gratification. I need the instant hit right now. Yeah, your brain is wired to want that amazing dopamine hit. But when you have that mindset, you understand, this is going to take some time. And I might have to restructure how I'm learning. And I might have to change the lane completely. Okay. And like, you always have to understand, like, if you haven't achieved it, you just haven't achieved it yet. You just haven't achieved it yet. I remember, was I watching the Kardashians? I think so. And I've heard this a million times, but I think Kris Kardashian was like, they asked her something and she got something done that somebody else couldn't. And they said, well, how did you get that done? She said, well, you just didn't ask the right person. And then there was another time that I was talking to I think he was a professor or somebody, and he said, it's never, sometimes it's no, sometimes it's not going to work, but sometimes it's just not now. Sometimes it's just not yet. So you got to be careful of that all or nothing thinking. That all or nothing thinking will set you back. It will set you back. Right? And it's like, that's why you want to look at it and you say, I want to be inspired. One of the biggest things you can do is be inspired by other people who have success. Look at them. What are they doing? Now, granted, you're not just going to follow their entire routine. It might not work for you. But pull inspiration, not jealousy. Right? And I think One big thing for you is to say, what do you deserve? Right? Like, what do you deserve? What does your tomorrow self deserve? And, I think when you get into that place, it's going to ask a lot more questions. That some of these mindset shifts will happen as you start working on your self-love without even going, I'm going to sit down and intentionally do this. And I think, when you do that, it's going to give you a space to suddenly see things not so half empty. Because how many times, I know I have, how many times have you said, well, I guess this is just never going to happen for me. Oh, why does this happen for everybody else? Right? And that's just where you go into your woe is me moment, your victim moment. And you give yourself your 10 minutes a week or whatever in the beginning to just kind of have that pity party for yourself. But don't get stuck there. Don't live there. Because if you live there, you're going to stay there. Right? So I want you to ask yourself some questions. Right? What challenge, this is going to be a call to action. What challenge, within reason, don't be like, I'm going to challenge myself to, I don't know, bull riding, if that's not your jam. What challenge, think of one thing, okay? Actually, think of three things, but let's do one at a time. I want you to think of three things that you want to challenge yourself in 2023, and we're going to do it again in 2024, it doesn't matter. But three things to challenge yourself this year, okay? Within reason, right? That you in the past thought, oh my God, I'm not smart enough to do this. Well, again, within reason, I'm not smart enough to do this. I can't do this. I'll never be able to accomplish it. Three things within reason, whether it be learning a new language, taking a cooking class, trying something brand new, maybe like crochet. And I want you to ask yourself, how can I reframe this in my mind, even though I know it's going to be hard, even though I know I'm not going to be good at it at all in the beginning. It is going to be very difficult. And it's hard to fall in love with something when you're constantly working. And I get it. I fell in love with crochet, but I had to fall in love with the process of sometimes spending 4 hours on a project and having to take it completely apart. Right? And so you have to ask yourself, what is the outcome that you want? And you have to tell yourself, you know what? I do not know the first thing about this. So I'm going to study, I'm going to look, I'm going to educate myself on it, and I'm going to practice it, and I'm going to fail, and I'm going to practice it again, and I'm going to fail again, and I'm going to do this for a long while. And then even when I pretty much know what I'm doing, there's still going to be areas that you're going to make mistakes in. That's how life works. So I want you to challenge yourself from this podcast. I want you to challenge yourself and ask yourself, what are the three things that I want to do that I know is hard, that's going to require me to make an effort to learn where the resources are. And I'm going to keep doing it even when it's hard. And then jump over into my YouTube, right? Because in my YouTube, and if you're on the Patreon, you can also drop it in the group over there. But and let me know. What are those challenges? Because once you put accountability out there, right? It's always amazing to see your progress, right? Because one of the best ways to have a growth mindset is to see the action, is to see the result of these actions. That only you can do that. That's why the journey is ridiculous. Learning something new is hard. I'm not going to lie. There's times, especially when I'm learning about the brain and stuff, or I talk to some of the people that I work with, and they use these big words, and I'm like, I got nothing. I know what that word means. I can barely speak a lot of the words, so I'm going to need help. And they were like, oh, sure, no problem. It means this. Cool. That's all I need to know. But now I know that word. So now if I'm ever out somewhere and somebody uses the word, I know what it means, because I'm not a person to be like, yes, I understand. And then they go, really? Well, what's your take on that? And then I go, oh my God, now I got to make up some lie about, I just told them I knew what I was talking about. And now they're like, oh, great, please expand. And I'm like, duh. No. Be willing to learn. Be willing to give yourself the opportunity to fall. Be willing to realize that no, you might not be good at it right now, but you will and you can at least put the effort in there. If you don't love the learning process, right, which isn't always fun, but if you don't love the learning process, it's going to be really difficult. because you're going to have to allow yourself not to let the triggers, kind of throw you off, like having to work hard. Having to realize that, guess what? As you grow in this journey, the self-love journey, the self-help journey, the mental journey, you will have setbacks. Oh, you are going to have setbacks. Yep, it happens. Is what it is. Is what it is. And if you don't allow yourself to be challenged, you're living in a comfort zone. And if you live in the comfort zone, we know that you're not growing. So I want you to be kind and compassionate to yourself. I want you to give yourself that space to be able to say, this is what a growth mindset means to me. And then give yourself that time to actually cultivate it and know that you're going to go forward and backwards, forward and backwards. It's going to be easier. It's going to be harder. It's going to be easier again. It's going to be harder. Growing, baby. That's why they call it growing pains, right? But at the end of the day, that mentality and that mindset will give you so many more opportunities in your life. It'll allow you to leave situations that don't serve your best and highest good. It'll allow you to cultivate new ones. It gives you so many options. And the entire thing falls back on you. It isn't everybody else. It's you, right? So be compassionate to yourself. And remember, not only can you do it, you actually deserve to have that growth mindset.
Check it out.